Today's video is about tripod maintenance. See, for me a tripod is the most important photography kit besides the camera, and it's important to keep it operable at all times. So today I show you how I do this during a photo trip and also how I clean the tripod afterwards. And yeah, you'll also learn what this Coke here has to do with it. So let's start. A very important thing when it comes to keeping your tripod operable when you take photos in sandy environment, you should always, or that's what I do, I always try to extend the lower portion of the legs a bit to avoid getting the logs here submerged in sand. And yeah, keeping the logs free of sand this way is very important to keep everything smooth. So usually I push down the tripod a bit to get it stable, and if I don't extend the legs, the logs will be in sand. And if I want to get lower, I rather angle the tripod a bit and get lower this way, always keeping the lower portion of the legs extended a bit. So if you've been taking photos with your tripod submerged in the water, what's likely going to happen if you had those logs here underneath the surface is you can have salt water within those legs. So what you should do always after a shoot is, let's quickly pull this up a bit so I can show you easier, unscrew the feet and yeah, let the salt water flow out. So you saw there was quite a bit of salt water in those, and yeah, if you don't do this, you'll get very thick salt crusts within those legs, and yeah, they will be much harder to operate. And yeah, what I also suggest is from time to time to take the tripod apart and let tap water flow through the legs to get out the rest of the salt water. So the most important thing when it comes to tripods is to clean it directly after a shoot at the coast, because there's a lot of salt and sand and you want to remove it as fast as possible. And you just use normal tap water. And afterwards you just leave the legs extended to dry. So after a few days of photographing at the coast, what I do in addition to cleaning the tripod after each shoot with fresh water is to take it apart. So disassembling the legs and then cleaning each individual piece with fresh water. And that's also why when you purchase a tripod, you should make sure that this is easily possible, that you can take it apart without much fuss, because it makes it much easier to clean it also when you're traveling. So for example, I've now taken the lower leg portion and I have the log here, and I will rinse or clean everything with fresh water. Can also remove the feet so the water can flow through it. Also make sure that everything gets well cleaned and yeah, there's no salt left anywhere. And I'm going to do this for the complete tripod, and this will maintain operability for the rest of the trip. So now that I showed you what I do during a trip to keep the tripod workable, I'll clean the tripod, and there are a few things I need. So for one thing, an old toothbrush, which I can use to clean the screws later, some tools to take the tripod apart. I also have here some Gitzo grease, but you can use any grease I think, but yeah, I just think those are very handy and I can keep those on travels also. So I just use this here. I have some lubricant and yeah, also some Coke. So now the first thing I do, I'll take it apart completely. So this is what I do now. Let's do this. So tripod is now taken apart. I have all the legs here. Also, I took apart the spider where I have now all those little screws and pieces, and yeah, those actually contain quite a bit of rust. Same is true here for the locks. They need a bit more grease now. And yeah, what I now do, the legs here, which have some salt crust, they get a bath in some soap water. And the screws here, or all the pieces where I have rust, I'll give a bath in some Coke, which is actually a quite good rust remover. So it's also good if you're traveling and have rust on some pieces of your tripod. You can always buy a Coke somewhere and then just dump in the screws into the Coke. And yeah, this will remove some of the rust. And if you afterwards just use this one old toothbrush, you'll get it removed quite quickly. So this is what I'm doing now. All the pieces here which contain rust go into Coke, and the legs here with the salt crusts go into soap water. And yeah, afterwards I'll use some cloth to really wipe it, so get all the salt removed as good as possible. And yeah, then we'll see how I continue. So the cleaning part is now done. What I now do, I let this sit for a while so it completely dries out. And yeah, then it's time to reassemble the tripod. And for this, what I'll do, for those screws here, or where the locks go, I'll use a little bit of this lubricant. So I put a bit on it so it screws smoothly, and I'll not use too much here, because if you use too much grease or fat or lubricant there, if you're shooting in sandy environments, this is where the sand will stick. So just a little bit so it smoothly operates. And the tripod grease I'll use here for the parts which go onto the spider, so that those here operate smoothly. And I also put a bit on those screws so everything works. And yeah, that's really it. Now it's just some time till everything is dried out, and then I put the things back together. So I've now finished cleaning the tripod, and it now operates as smoothly as before. And yeah, it's ready for the next trip. And yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If so, leave a thumbs up. And also, if you have some other maintenance tricks for your tripod, just leave a comment. I'm always keen to know what else I can do. But yeah, I think if you apply the steps I showed in this video, you can be sure that you can use your tripod for many, many years. See you!